This is Deaver Brown from Simply Magazine, the audiobook and ebook people. Today we're going to talk about 21st century management. And it's all about what Clayton Christensen talks about in The Innovator's Dilemma: simpler and cheaper. But there's another part of this. If you don't make your business simpler and cheaper, your business will be gone, because others are doing it. To remain competitive, you can't just stay in place. So what does this involve? The first thing is more work, less process. With the great innovation of the internet, there's a lot we can do today without spending time going places, meeting with people, paperwork, and various other things. So let's start with the thought that we're going to have fewer meetings, because you don't need them. We used to have meetings because you didn't have the email and the PDFs and all that. Now you can do all that. The second thing is you don't have to travel as much, because PDFs actually, for most things, are totally sufficient. You don't have to go to Chicago for 20 minutes if you can do a PDF and talk through it. GoToMeeting.com and various places of that kind let you have a teleconference. And then, of course, there's no entertainment. The person you're seeing is done with you when you're done, and you're done with them. It's a calm, reasonable thing. You can get a punch list. And the great thing about audio and GoToMeeting and things like that on the phone is you don't have to get all dressed up. You can think, you can take notes, you can do all that. Okay, so then what do you do? Well, the first thing is to understand we all get to it late. The classic story is Bill Gates. In 1975, I went to the Harvard newsstand at Harvard Square and saw Popular Mechanics and realized that somebody was doing a PC. And he said, I better catch that train. Quit school, went and did it. Now, what's interesting about that is even Bill was late, and he was a genius, is still. And we all are late, so don't beat yourself up. When you find something, move at it, and don't worry about looking over your shoulder. We call that the windshield versus the rear view mirror. When you look out a windshield, you see this broad expanse with all these opportunities. The rear view mirror is small, and you just see where you've come from. It doesn't do you any good. Obviously, it's hard to look through the windshield, and you have to keep looking for things changing. The climate changes, things change, people move, etc., and so on. But use that image for yourself. Now start with yourself. The first place to start is every day spend 5 minutes writing down your plan for that day. At the end of the day, spend 5 minutes writing what you did and what you're going to do tomorrow. Now, 5 minutes sounds like a short period of time. It really isn't. If we do one good thing a day, that's a lot. It's 250 in a year. So don't make it long, but do take notes and be meticulous about doing it. That can also be used for weekly reports and things of that kind when you're reporting to others. Now, the next point is one of the greatest of all time about doing things right. Think of your company as the company inside. All the costs are inside, all the results are outside. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means all the customers are not in your building. There's nobody you're going to sell in your building. The only people you can sell are people outside your building. And certainly at a headquarters, you can't make anything in your headquarters. So everything is done outside. So everything inside is a cost, and outside is your opportunity. Peter Drucker says that eloquently. It's totally true. So let's take the parking lot theory of organization. Take everything out of your building and consider what that would involve, and decide what comes back in. And the most important thing is, what do you leave out? Don't worry so much about what you bring back. But if you were to put everything out, what would you bring back? Well, in the internet age, would you bring those filing cabinets back? One reason Iron Mountain is so successful is they store stuff. And if you talk to the CEO, he'll tell you, we don't charge much to redeliver because nobody wants the stuff back. So you get rid of a filing cabinet. If you've got a $20 or $40 square foot office, obviously 10 of those cost about $5,000 a year. Well, get rid of them, you don't have to do it. Iron Mountain will store them for $2 or $3 grand if you need it, and maybe a lot less. So think about what you can move out and then move back. And as we get more internet oriented, we can save things in the cloud and so forth, and we need less stuff. So where do we go with this? Well, our title gets into this in depth with lots of specific suggestions for you to use. You don't have to do it all today. It's a process. But the first thing is fewer meetings. Think about a meeting with 5 people that make 50 grand. That's $250,000 a year. Most people can't work more than 1,000 hours. So if you divide that, a daily meeting can cost you $5,000 if you put the overhead in. Just eliminating a meeting, presuming these people have value to your company, saves you a fortune and the wear and tear. Many people who've responded to this idea say the worst thing about meetings is it tires them out, because most of the time you're just sitting there. It's involving 1 or 2 of the participants. Less paperwork. This is key. In accounting, there used to be something called WIP, work in process. Well, now that most of us aren't manufacturing, you don't have to worry about WIP. Many times, people have home offices and things like that. They don't have to worry about real estate. You have payroll services like ADP and Paychex that can give you a number so you don't have to account for that. In accounting, there's not a lot that's required, a lot less. Think about what you can do. One of our simplest suggestions relates to purchase orders and invoices. Retailers at their 52-week high don't allow invoices. Why is that? Well, if they execute a PO and it's filled, they don't need an invoice. Now, accountants do it like a legacy, very much like the proverbial coal guy in a train, except there was no coal to put in. It's like having a buggy whip when you have no buggy and you have a car. So one of the things the best retailers do is they cut out their paperwork. The second thing is to try to pay bills online. Now, I find if you make it automatic, you can't stop it, but once every period, you can see it and hit it, and it's very quick, which cuts out a lot of overhead because it's all online, it's all there, it's all in your bank statement. You don't have to keep the numbers. The IRS is perfectly willing to accept your bank statement that you paid somebody as long as it's not a relative. So there are all these opportunities. Don't try to eat the whole elephant. Eat one bite at a time. Go after the paperwork, and it's like peeling an onion. As you get rid of one document, you'll start to get rid of others. Now, the last one, which I think is most important, are budgets. People spend all this time in budgets where forecasting the future is always uncertain. Best to do what the CEO did at American Power. You make a general estimate and then you see how you do. You don't forecast because it's always shaky. You basically set parameters. We're not going to do more than 10% more, 20% more, and not less than 0. And you work to that goal in a continual basis without spending days and hours on budgets. Budgets don't make you any money. Customers do. This is a great opportunity for you to get ideas about how to help your company. In fact, the idea from this came from 2 or 3 people who wanted to show this to the boss, but wanted to get it from a third party so they wouldn't be blamed. Thank you for Simply. We appreciate it. You can find us at staples.com, tidydirect.com, audible.com, and our own site, simplymagazine.com.